Hi, I'm Clare Cooley. This is the Creativity Show. Thanks for being here. Um, Today we have a set with more than 40 different stencil outfits I've done in the last 7 months. And here's, oh, it's on this side. Here's an example of a white chrysanthemum stencil on a rather professional business-like jacket. So there's the full range, and we're going to go through them. And we're going to start by talking about everything in this. It was either purchased at a used store or donated to me by people that knew I'd find use for things that they no longer had a use for. And I did the research yesterday out of curiosity how much we save if we do the treasure hunt of finding things we can recreate with in your. The average article of new clothing costs about $30. The average article in a used store is about 750. So we save 22.50 per article of clothing. So we did the math. Since there's over 40 outfits here, most of them have two pieces. Some of them have three. A few have four pieces in the outfit. That's a savings of $1,800, which is coincidentally the average yearly budget for clothes of the average American. So just by shopping in used stores or reusing what other people hand me downs or donations, we can save as much. As I said, I did these in 7 months. Um, in half a year, we can save enough to be an entire year's clothes budget for the average American. And we're making one of a kind. So we have the fun of looking for the items in the used stores like a treasure hunt. And we get then to have the fun of using our imaginations to design. I have my stencils now up, 10 of my flower stencils, including this chrysanthemum, on my Patreon members for $5 a month. They get access to all my stencils for no extra cost. So there's 10 up there now. So you start off with a savings of 25 bucks in the first month. I've made over 300 stencil designs, cranes, warblers, wildflowers, sea creatures, grasses, all sorts of things. So they're going to keep coming out as SVGs, and you can buy one for $3, or you can join the Patreon. Members get all the stencils as they come out. There's the chrysanthemum for no additional cost, and they're just going to keep coming out. So I love the stencils. I did them. The first thing I did was draw on clothes that had a couple stains on it. So I didn't want this raw silk robe and pants that I designed, their wraparound pants. I didn't want to, I don't like to waste anything. So I just use the imperfections in life to be a challenge to my imagination. So I drew these with permanent pens. And then I went on to this linen jacket I drew. And then before a exhibition one day, I actually had some time. And then my very first stencils were this feather outfit that I did before the exhibition. The shirt, pants, and scarf, all with the feather patterns. Then I use these same feather pattern stencils as on a huge sarong size scarf that then became a wall hanging. So besides these over 40 outfits I'm going to show you, there's also using stencils like on these screens are my feather stencils. So on furniture, I'd use them on walls, platters, vases, tables. I'm sure I'm missing a few things because when there's that many different uses, it's hard for me to keep it all in my mind at the same time. So there's so many uses. Um, that's why I love sharing the stencil designs with you and see what your imagination does, how you express your style in your home, workplace, on your clothes. So while we're showing these outfits, um, like I said, there's almost 40 here. Bodhi, you can put up me working on them. And so as I'm showing you, this was a dress that dear Sue Spencer found in a used store and gave to me that I put warblers and wildflowers on. And here's another example of the chrysanthemum. This one's in red on the scarf and on the shirt. So, you know, you can use obviously any colors you want. I use golden acrylic paints, which, is there a link to them in my, Bo, can you hear me?
There are links in the description of videos. So if you do the creativity show on YouTube, affiliate links for all paint brushes, stencil cutting material, acetate.
Great, thank you. He's in the office over there and I can't hear him except for across the room. So here's another example. This is orchids, and this one is one of the first 10 flowers we have up. And like I said, we're just going to keep putting out the stencil designs. Golden. I often dye fabrics before stenciling them. The pink iris. And I love the freedom of using things like I just added these copper feathers to this scarf that then becomes a blouse for this sleeveless dress that has the maple leaves on the bottom. So I love the freedom that using inexpensive items to stencil on, because you don't feel it's not scary, precious, like a family heirloom that you may not want to stencil on until you're really confident, because obviously you don't want to be learning on things that you'd be devastated if they didn't work out. But honestly, of these over 40 outfits, this one has a scarf and this simple gold feather on the border of the jacket and pants. I like subtle, so most of them are fairly, well, I like to say fun, fast, and frugal. Fabulous fashion. I also like alliteration. It's easier to remember. It's kind of childlike charming. So here's maple leaves on this forest green. Here's a teeny little silver feathers on this brown jacket and yellow shirt and pants. Here's a purple iris scarf and shirt. And over here we have, I love kimonos. Growing up with a classically trained artist mother, she always let me go to art museums, and I just love the aesthetic of Chinese, Japanese, Asian art. So it's no wonder I have kimonos and in my collection. This I'm going to leave on here. Well, maybe not because it's hard to see. But this is a ginkgo leaf on a suede jacket, leather, and on the velvet dress. So I not only like to show things as a complete outfit, but I like to hang them in my closet. So when it's time to get dressed for something, the outfit's kind of already put together and I don't have to go looking for the different parts. Can we see all the way over here? Not really. So we'll continue on this. Here's bamboo leaf on this long silk jacket. And here is another use for that bamboo leaf, which is, this one is on a bronze raw silk on the pant leg and jacket. Less is more. I like just little spots of bright, delicate. Everything is inspired by nature. Nature is my muse. So here's silver on an outfit I dyed. This dusty rose. Here's one of my very first stencils that fell down and I didn't put it back together in the perfect display, but it's got the gold angel wings, I call them, and the scarf. And it came from a piece of original art called Freedom Flight that's actually the cover of my memoir, Incandescence Rising Above Darkness. I made this angel wing, by copying the angel wing in the drawing into a stencil that I've used a number of different ways. We can't show everything, so the scarves that I made that are table runners with this angel wing have all three colors. It's a 3-part stencil. Oh,
Bigger tiramisu. So elegant. Love the stencils on the.
how lovely! Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do too. I like bright and subtle. So I like the cream. Here's a.
Also, thank you for being on member, right?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for being my very first. I just got the Patreon membership up and running thanks to Bodhi, my techspertise. Bodhi, the movie maker, my son, who asked me to work with him. I'm so grateful. When he was an adult, he said, let's work together. And he named us Mother Son Productions. So here we are. He does 2 live streams a week. I do 2 live streams. We put out the SDGs of, like, here's the pollinators on this very subtle kind of a, it's kind of a lavender, but it's kind of a, I would call it dusty lavender. I like the name colors. And here's a deep burgundy.
And would love to see what you could do with men? Question mark.
Right. Well, I'll get to that. In fact, thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. And I had a man, husband of a friend of mine, who just asked me about stenciling on leather. So this is stenciling on leather, but I'm going to do some more stenciling on leather and show some more options, creative ideas. Leaves. These leaves, interesting, were actually picked out of the yard, and I traced them with a pencil, and then I cut them out by hand with a razor blade or a hot knife, and some I even cut with a scissors out of paper instead of the regular mylar acetates, because they last longer, because they're obviously impervious to being degraded by the paint or washing them off with the water. But the paper, the simplest way to make a stencil: trace a feather, a leaf, a dried flat flower, cut it out with a scissors, the stiff piece of paper like cardstock, and I made a series of note cards, which when Bodhi comes out, we'll show the note cards that are up there when he can tilt the camera. But there's, like I said, so many things you can do with stencils. Here's another white chrysanthemum design. And my art education comes from observing nature, which I say is my art teacher. My mother was my spiritual teacher, and though she was classically trained, she said, you have your own way, you have your own style. Technique doesn't apply to you. You'll find your own techniques. You have your own way. And so she didn't give me technical feedback. She just said, you work it until it's done, and then you stop. And can you stencil in an eagle, or is that too large? Well, the stencils can be any size you want. I have an eagle painting that, so, there's nothing in nature that I don't find beautiful and inspiring. So an eagle stencil, that could happen. And now that you've suggested it, it will. So here's flowers and dragonflies. So eagles, and they're generally, that could be menswear. Eagles somehow have generally a more masculine, so that could be some menswear idea. Here's red roses on silk. This is a scarf, shirt, and pants. And here is a robe I dyed, and it's got gold orchids, top and bottom. And this is a scarf Bodhi brought me from Egypt. And so I actually did this outfit to go with his scarf. because it's such an interesting color combination that I had to make an outfit to be harmonious with this interesting color combination. Here is another example of chrysanthemum. Here's gold. And this is my winter holiday, the gift-giving season, I like to call it, outfit. And here we have wildflowers on gray velvet in hot pink, which I think deep gray and this kind of hot pink are just a lovely combination, lovely contrast. And we have more wildflowers on this black velvet, and this is another kimono with wildflowers on it. And then we have yet another wildflowers on black linen. So if we have something that has a stain or some imperfection, we can revive it by stenciling over the imperfection. I'm all about trying to use what we have access to not have it end up in the landfill if we know someone who could use it, or we can donate it to people that need clothes, then beautiful. But let's not send anything to the landfill. I love how you don't do it as a border.
Do.
Oh, I love how you do it as a border. Those are hard for me to read. Thank you. Yes, that is, it's just a little bit of our personal style, a little bit of distinction, making what could be ordinary into something unique, art to wear, I like to call it. And as you're seeing me doing this, I don't know if I can get this in front of the camera without taking it down. So this is the spring kimono with flowers and fish. And I'm working on a multimedia performance piece called Essence of Everything that's inspired by the 4 seasons. So that is the spring kimono, and here is the autumn kimono, which is deer and maple leaf, and men ties would be neat to see. Well, that's a really good idea. Thank you.
Tigger.
Thank you. That's a great idea. Yeah, men don't generally give themselves much permission to be too creative with their wardrobe. Ties can be a creative accent, even to a standard business look that's socially acceptable to men and society. So here's this summer, which is grasses and dragonflies. So this performance piece is, it's all about why I call it Essence of Everything. That cord came down, so we'll just do this. Okay, I'll get there in a sec, which is the last of the 4 kimonos is the cranes and evergreens for winter. So the performance piece will be, I'm designing and painting the costumes, which are here. You've just seen them. And there will be prose poetry, spoken word, based on the Four Seasons, inspired by the Four Seasons, and then bamboo flute music I'll play with the prose poetry, inspired by the Four Seasons. And then the last, well, there will be floor to ceiling scrims painted as the set. So the costume, the set, all inspired by the Four Seasons, and the spoken word poetry, flute music, and then the last piece will be a skate dance performance. And the reason, the impetus, the inspiration for this multimedia performance piece is about how creativity just flows, and we can step into the flow. We don't have to have mastery of any of it. We just have to be willing to step into that tender place and let it flow through us. So that's why I wanted to combine all of the art forms and do them live in front of an audience performance piece, just as a demonstration that just we can give ourselves permission to express ourselves in all these different ways without any training, without any classes, simply because we allow ourselves to, like children. So wouldn't this be strong enough to use as designs for pillows, cases, and sheets? Well, thank you. I have a bunch of pillows in the Emerald Lady here. In fact, Bo, are you going to show that clip that shows some of the home decor stuff? Has this one run all the way through? Well, then are you ready to show the home decor stuff that shows pillows and wall hangings and friezes and vases, tables, other things I've done with stencils? Is that ready? Fabulous. So here's the frieze in my bathroom, and I just finished the curtain, which we don't have in this video because I just finished it and put it up this week, but we can show that for the next live stream. And so I used silver because there was already silver in my 120-year-old bathroom. And so I work with what's there, what's a given and here in the Emerald Lady, the architecture is anywhere we've kept the architecture obviously as original, and tried to honor the style of the house. So that silver was there. There's Bodhi up on a stool doing a little stenciling. And so I have the silver around the bathroom, and I've done some art with the same stencils that's hanging in that bathroom. I think we'll get to that in this video. And now I've added to it by using that water lily stencil on the curtains in there. So you can make that bigger while I get a couple more things to show. So that's the warblers and wildflowers in the Forever Spring guest room, where I have my own frame design, those little hand-painted dowel frames of the warblers and wildflowers. I did 26 in that series, and then I put them on that bedspread. Now we're up on the third floor in the Pardon me? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. I really do. I do art because it's a peaceful place to be. Expressing myself creatively is a healing, you know, stimulates our immune system to express our emotions. So it's peaceful, it's healing, but sharing it gives it a greater purpose. And I believe all artists, basically we all do what we do for ourselves, but to have it complete we have to share it. So I love and I really appreciate comments and feedback. So there's the fish in the third floor guest quarters for people that come for creativity retreats. I love being a creativity coach. People ask me to teach in my 20s when I had no idea that I had that ability or that anyone would want to learn what I knew. But 9 people in one day asked me to. So I thought, well, you know what? I guess they know something I don't. And I learned to teach by doing it. And it's all about listening and it's all about encouraging each other, giving each other permission to be ourselves and to express our curiosity and our aesthetic. So that's what it is. And I love reflecting back to people the things they say when I hear what inspires them, and they may not hear themselves or validate themselves until someone echoes it back to them. And that's my job as a creativity coach. I love to say I'm a guide for people on the way home to themselves. So here's some more really practical. Oh, another comment. Well, it's hard for me to read that one.
I've got her set up on this little laptop, and
and I can't
I'm
necessarily.
having technical difficulties in there. So it says, "Wow, so agree with your thoughts, Claire. Art is a picture of the creator's soul, and yours is beautiful."
Thank you,
Hey,
thank you.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael. That's a really, really kind thing to say. And I got chills. Thank you. Really sweet. Uh, so I almost have never worn jeans in my life. They're just not that comfortable. And when I put them on in my youth, I noticed that people looked at my butt way too much. So I'm like, nah, they're not for me. But I decided to make a jean t-shirt top just to out of the seed shapes I told you I found in the yard, to do something more common, more usual. And here's another top that a friend left from a used store, and this is a gift for Sue when she comes back in town to pick it up, because she left these for me. And here's a smaller, subtler white mum. And here's a very, my favorite skating outfit. It's been washed so many times. It has holes in it, but I don't really care. I like to be clean, but I don't care. I guess I'm shabby chic. uh, so it's got dragonflies on the little skating culottes and top. I just wanted to show more practical kind of exercise wear. And here's some very, very simple on little exercise tops, casual wear, I guess we would call it. And we could go back full screen. I think they've seen that. And here's warblers on the back of this little shirt. So very humble to elegant stencils can work on so many different things. And all we have to do to take care of them is treat them nicely. And we can, right after we paint on them, I put them in a cookie sheet with water, and then I run the water into a bowl if it's one color, and then I let the water evaporate and the paint pigment stays, and then I use it again. If it's mixed paint and it's not a color that I could use, I pour it through a strainer. So the flakes go in the strainer and I can throw those away instead of put them in the water system. But I have paints for years and years because it takes so little paint and I know how to reuse it. When I did the golds, I used it to repair placemats I had that had a few stains on it. So there's always another use for what's left over. I have a policy in life of trying not to waste anything. So that is a creative challenge to figure out a use. And that's often my prime directive in what I'm going to create next is what comes into my life, whether it's cattails or beautiful little beach glass collection or some lovely clothes somebody leaves that they found at a used store and thought, well, Claire will make something out of this. Whatever it is that comes into my life that I come across, I use that as inspiration, challenge to my creativity. What can I do with this to enhance it, to recreate with it, to make something simple beautiful? And instead of thinking, what can I buy that's perfect? I instead, what do I have that I can work with? So um, I'm going to read a statement today that's very different than my usual. Um, and I just feel like it's an important time. There's a lot of conflict in the world. There's a lot of divisiveness. And whatever our spiritual beliefs, whatever our political beliefs, our social beliefs, it's more important to find what we can agree on than what we disagree on. What good does that do us? So, what we can agree on can lead us to peace and cooperation and enhancing life for all of us. And who doesn't want that? Well, a few mean people don't, but mean people we don't need to listen to because they're not wise. They're mean. So, this statement, I'm just going to read it. And when we have the most to say, we may be the least listened to. The confused, sexist, ageist, elitist world doesn't determine our worth. We create our value through our actions. The greatest wealth is compassion, imagination, and wisdom. Speak up and celebrate your experience. Share what you have that helps others. No matter how long we took care of our family, while our ambitions weren't supported, never give up. Believe in yourself. I would not have predicted my adult son would ask me to collaborate and name us Mother Son Productions. We are creative generalists, collaborating playfully, peacefully, producing our purposeful and very different work. I've no regrets that it took this long. I'm truly grateful it happened and glad I never gave up. So I just wrote that this morning, didn't really edit it, and just felt like I needed to say that. And I feel some tears. That's tears of joy that no matter what the confused world says about, we're in this time where they say things like no one wants to see a woman over 40 on video. I've heard a woman the other day say once a woman hits 50, she's invisible. And that's, these wrong messages are what inspired me to write this morning. When we have the most to say, we may be the least listened to. How did it happen? Why do we tolerate it? That wisdom and experience, depth and knowledge, if especially if you're a female, it doesn't quite apply to males the same way because we know the world has been sexist a really long time, but it's incorrect. The older we get, the more important it is to speak up. So me getting into in front of a camera regularly, I'm I'm in my 70s now, and I'm getting in front of a camera for the first time in my life regularly at the age where most women are put out to pasture, that all they're good for is to babysit the grandkids. Um, that's wrong. It's incorrect, and the world needs the compassionate people to speak up, the nurturers to match the aggressors. And that's what every mother is, and every person on this planet came through a woman to be birthed. And yet we own, I think the last time I researched this, something like 6% of the real estate on the planet is owned by women. How many women are not in politics? How many women are not making laws um, that govern society? We need to step up and stop believing all that confusion out there. So I hope you can appreciate how personal this is for me, and um, accept that I mean it to help the world. All of us need to speak up and step up. So I'm glad I am, and I hope you do. Bodhi, my son, knows that I cry just about every day. Something touches me. I'm very in touch with my feelings, but feelings initiate thoughts. So I'm going to say those people. I've had some people in my life who say I'm really smart. I've even had some people, silly them, who say I'm a genius. Yeah, right. My genius is I accept feelings as a gift, as a message, as lesson, as stimulating thought, stimulating our immune system. And I don't try to not feel ever. I do try to go expeditiously through unpleasant feelings and luxuriate in pleasant feelings, but feel yourself, know yourself, and share yourself. So stay curious, stay creative, and hopefully you've enjoyed something here and you will tell a friend. That's the best. That's the best way to spread the word. And I share creativity because it helped me through all my adversity. It still helps me through my adversity, and sharing it with you gives me purpose to to keep going and still feel joy even in a world that has a lot of conflict. So I hope to share that with you. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Come back Monday, Thursday, noon. I'm just going to keep going. I am. Thank you, everybody.